Number 6, GT ending. Alright, now here's the thing about GT ending. The manga had ended 2 years prior to this, but GT solidified the end of Dragon Ball for what at the time seemed to be forever. Remember, you guys gotta remember, for a time period, a huge time period, Dragon Ball was in the Dark Ages. It was stuck in the Dark Ages. No one knew if there's going to be more Dragon Ball. The only thing they had was the games and reruns, but no one really knew if Dragon Ball was ever going to come back. And so with GT ending, that was almost like the final goodbye. That's all you had for what? 10 years, 11 years until Yo Son Goku. So GT's ending was really a shocking moment. Even the ratings bumped up for this ending, just, slightly, like a little bit. But up to this point, Dragon Ball had been going on, if you count the manga, like from the beginning of the manga, 1984. So that's 13 years on the air. And it inspired so many people to start their own art and just in life in general. And it's all of a sudden coming to an end of like completely manga and anime. This was huge. And it's very difficult to put yourself in their shoes. But remember when Dragon Ball Super ended and, people were going crazy over that? Now imagine all of Dragon Ball at that point, all that anyone's ever known ending. I mean, in America, that's probably close to maybe SpongeBob ending. Maybe. But I mean, at this point, SpongeBob is going on for 20 years, 20 plus years. So I wouldn't be surprised if anyone already thought it ended. But Dragon Ball ending totally in the 90s was huge. But you know what was even bigger than that? Number 5, Battle of Gods. Now, this is on the list for the opposite reason of GT ending. This was truly Dragon Ball's revival. Now, if you remember this time period, I remember, but I was young, but I still remember when Yo Son Goku came out. That's like, okay, it's an OVAs, it's just a little get together. And so, no one's really taking it seriously, but it's clear that something's on the rise. Then fast forward to a year later, Toriyama's birthday, around that time period, Dragon Ball Kai comes out. Okay, well, now you're re-airing Dragon Ball Z just a bit chopped up to make it more faithful to the manga, right? So now you're thinking, okay, maybe, you thought you were going to get maybe a new series, but, it's fun. It's fine that the new generation gets to experience Dragon Ball Z, whatnot. But then Dragon Ball Kai gets canceled. And now everyone's thinking, okay, well, what's going on with Dragon Ball? I mean, you got some things going on during that like cancellation time period. You got episode of Bardock, you got more games, things of that nature. But Battle of Gods was what Dragon Ball Kai wasn't. It was something new. And that's what really got people perked up. Something new was coming, and could you imagine the amount of tweaking that was going on in Japan when Battle of Gods got announced? It was big in the States. I remember it being announced in the States. That's how big it was. I mean, usually like when things out of the country in Dragon Ball, at least back then, like a little before like 2016, like around before Super, it was, it wasn't as mainstream as now. I mean, social media's made that way more easy. But back then, when I was hearing about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is different. And so it got me thinking like, wow, Dragon Ball's coming back with brand new stuff. And imagine, all the curiosity around Beerus and all this stuff, the universes, all that stuff getting introduced. And not only that, but this led to Resurrection F, Dragon Ball Super. All that stuff came as a result of Battle of Gods' success. I would say Dragon Ball Kai's success, but it was seen as a failure in Japan, because of the merchandise only selling what Z was selling. So Battle of Gods is really where all this, this major momentum swing, this wave of momentum for Dragon Ball went way overboard. It wasn't until Battle of Gods that all that stuff really started to go crazy. Number 4, Majin Buu exploding the Earth. This one is another one that was teased for pretty much all of Dragon Ball. For almost every arc, every single villain would tease blowing up the Earth. Vegeta did it, Frieza did it, Cell did it. Almost every villain, even Piccolo pretty much did it. Both Piccolos. Piccolo, the Demon King Piccolo, threatened to, systematically do it, but he was going to do it nonetheless. Piccolo Jr. already, just didn't care. Vegeta threatened to do it, and so on and so on. But this is where it actually pays off. Majin Buu didn't give a flying fladoodle. He just straight up blew up the Earth. And it was because of that, even Goku was shocked. Goku was in so much shock, he didn't know whether to grab his sons or grab Satan. And that's what makes this moment all the more special. It's amazing that it took a villain this long in the series to actually blow up the planet. And it's funny because it would happen in the next arc, chronologically speaking, if you're going from the Dragon Ball timeline in real life, because it happened with Baby. But it's funny how it took up to the end of the actual manga for this to happen, and it's almost poetic in a way. I know a lot of people are gonna complain, oh well, he had time, he was flying fast, Goku could have just picked up his son right then there. But I mean, think about it. Dragon Ball is known for having very odd pacing in times, and this is definitely cinematic time. This is definitely one of those times they're moving in cinematic time. So in that scenario, he probably wasn't it was probably just a split second, and he just grabbed him. Remember, these characters are faster than the speed of light, so we just probably grabbed him out of just needed to save someone, and that's how it ended up happening. I mean, imagine putting yourself in his shoes. What would you have done if you have a gun, or let's just say a nuke is dropping on your house, and you have only so many people you can take out of your house before it lands on it? Now imagine how you, in that situation, how you would act. So it's easy to, get caught up and think that, oh man, he could have just done this. But I mean, when you really look at the situation,